Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the Accent Training Podcast. My name is Pat. I'm your accent coach, and today we are going to start our systematic approach to learning American accent sounds with a vowel sound. A vowel sound that we call a short O. Short O. Could also be called a lax O. Now, short, in opposed to what? Long? A long O and lax, in opposed to a tense O? Yes, indeed. We have lax sounds and we have tense sounds. Tense sounds move. Lax sounds are static, unmoving. We can call them lax vowels or short vowels. Don't get too hung up on the name. It's really not a big deal. The important thing is learning the movement to produce the sound and consistently repeating that movement to see results. So the short O, this sound is the sound ah, ah. And honestly, it's a sound that's fairly common in languages all over the world. Ah, ah. Now, just like it may be used in your native language, this ah sound is also used in spoken English. This means we've found a strength in your accent. This is a strength. And when we found a strength in your accent, all that we've got to do is build upon that strength. And so when we take a sound which is common in your native language, and we identify how it applies to English, we're taking the path of least resistance. It'll be easier to adapt sounds that you're already good at making and your muscles and ears know how to produce and identify than it would be to try to force in a brand new movement and a brand new sound. Now here's what happens in English. When this ah sound comes up, we want to apply lots of voice. We don't want it to be weak like oh, oh. We want it held out, kind of stretched in sound. Ah, ah. Flowing out, not getting a choppy ah, ah, but ah, ah. Now this is the O sound that we hear in words like stop, got, mom, sorry, often. Each and every one gets a nice clear ah. Now, what do all of these words have in common? Well, there are no vowels that modify the sound of this. You know how in English, when you have two vowels together, it makes a bit of a different sound? Like, for example, G-O-T, got. But then if we have G-O-A-T, it's goat. Got, goat. Two totally different sounds, and the difference is we've got two vowels beside each other in goat. That makes that O change to a tense O, stretch out a little bit more. So what we're looking at are O's which don't have other vowels close to them to change their sound. That means that there are at least two consonant letters separating the O from another vowel sound. Now this is a general guideline on how you can identify that short O sound. There are exceptions to this, just like all general guidelines in spoken English. But identifying these common denominators is what's going to help you make a serious change. So here's how we get the ah sound in these O's. We start with the tip of your tongue low down around the front of your mouth. The tip of your tongue could be touching the back of your gums, the back of your teeth. Honestly, it's not that important. It's just kind of out of the way. The sides of your tongue, however, are lightly touching the tops of your bottom teeth. This is to say that we are adjusting the back of your tongue and adjusting the sides of your tongue to be around the middle of your mouth, kind of where your teeth separate. You then drop your jaw and voice that position, and it sounds like ah, ah. Now, one more tip that will help you with the clarity of this sound is if the center part of your tongue is lightly compressed, lightly pressing downwards, not up. If it presses up, you're going to get more like ah. But we want it pressing down. Ah. Not hard, just lightly. Ah. So, the sides of your tongue and the back of your tongue are raised up to be about the middle of your mouth. The inside part of your tongue is lightly compressed down, and the tip of your tongue is just out of the way. It's got nothing to do here. Repeat this sound back to me. Ah. Once again there. Ah. Now the short O can be found in the beginning of a word or in the middle of a word, but not at the ending of a word. What I'd like to do is just briefly list off a couple of words that have a short O in them, and I'd like you to repeat them back to me, really stretching out the ah sound in each. We're going to start with words that start with a short O. Just a couple of quick words and brief phrases to get a bit of an ear for this. Repeat back to me. Ah. Ah. I just got off work. I just got off work. Let's hear what you got. Next word. Online. Online. I bought it online. I bought it online. And next word. Office. Office. My boss's office. My boss's office. And let me hear you say that. Good. Next, let's consider some words that have short O in the middle of the word. Repeat back to me. Problem. Problem. Problem-solving skills. Problem-solving skills. Not. Not. That's not a problem. That's not a problem. And finally, cost. Cost. What'll it cost? What'll it cost? And now you. That's good, my friends. That is the key to success when it comes to getting these ah sounds. We got to stretch them out. We've got to let your ears adjust to them. You need to understand the fact that this is a very common sound, and this is likely a sound that you already use to some extent because it quite possibly exists in your native language. You just need 3 things to master this sound. Number 1, you need to make sure that you've got your positioning solid and confident. Next, you need to get that sound nice and clear. Make sure that you've got lots of voice flowing through, carrying the sound out. Ah. And finally, when you're identifying this, keep in mind you'll find it beginning a word and in the middle of a word, but not at the ending of a word. These are typically words which have an O that's not affected by other vowels. In these words, we're going to get the ah sound. It's going to stretch out, and the more that you practice it, the more confidently you'll use it. So where do we go from here? Well, I invite you to check out the following episode where I'm going to read out a series of short phrases. If you want to see progress with the ah sound, here's how it's going to happen. You've got to listen to that next episode once a day, and you've got to shadow once a day my pronunciation of those words. This will help your muscles and your ears adjust to get a much clearer and more confident sound with your spoken English. So we're going to wrap this episode up right now, and I invite you to check out the following short episode without delay so that you can actively practice the skill that you've just learned and begin to build the habit of using it. I'll see you there, my friend, and have a good one.